setting expectations for In the Studio version 2.0.0 from DJ to producer with ELLO. The only thing I'm going to say, not really the only thing, I'll say a few things. Just go on Spotify if you want to see him or see ads. You can go on Spotify, check out ELLO. It's a track we do called Break the Floor. I don't know how loud this is going to be. I lowered it. Great. You got that. You can go to Beatport. Check out ELLO there. A track that we made is also over there. He has other releases. One of his newest releases is called Sweet Emotion. His other one was called Crazy. I think it was called Crazy. Yep. He's got a bunch of stuff out. And if not there, always go to the most important spot. Go to DJELLO.com. 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 Check out all of his new stuff. Buy all of his stuff. Check him out. He's got some videos of him performing at a festival. Things like that. You know, all the stuff people would like to see when they're enjoying their live entertainment. But there is something I do have to add. We did record this twice, and we had some audio problems, had to book it again. Then ELLO got sick for a couple of weeks. After that, he's good. We're back, and this will be the first of all of the artist interviews, all types of interviews, from all types of people, from all different from and to, either from musicians to producers, or from producers to musicians, or from musicians to electrical engineering. It doesn't really matter. From somewhere in their life, they were involved in music or weren't and now currently are. And we are going to dive into their studio regardless of what type of studio it is. But if it's music related, that would most likely be the preference. Enjoy ELLO. ELLO, the producer, the DJ, all kinds of stuff. The snowboarder. There's a lot of things. The athlete.
Yeah, right.
The athlete and the artist himself.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I got questions that I've whipped up here. We're going to whip around and probably answer numerous questions at the same time. So if I have to resort to the set list, it's because we have covered a lot of things and I have a bad memory. As simple as that. Let's start with the history of DJing in the New York City scene, 1990s.
All right, where do I start?
Any way you want to start. You can start as young as you'd like.
Well, I did start as young as I liked because I started when I was 14 years old. Don't want to date myself, but yes, that was 1996 or 7, maybe 98, or 98 was when I started spinning in the clubs. Yeah, I'd say started DJing around 97. Within a year or two, I was spinning in 99 and 2000, 2001 in Manhattan club and rave scene. And I spun at some of the most legendary clubs in Manhattan, at least in my eyes. Tunnel, Limelight, Club Speed, Sound Factory. Yeah, there was some great times, some great moments. I got the opportunity through a rave promotion group called Cousins Productions. Yeah, the original rave scene was incredible. It was a special time. There was no social media. It was just club flyers. Whether you found the club flyers at your local record shop or clothing store, or you went to a club or a rave and they were handing out flyers to the next event. So yeah, that's how I got in. I got involved through the local record shops and the reason I started producing, the reason I started DJing at that early age was because my sister was really into the underground dance scene, and at that time I was listening to music like industrial music that was already kind of different like Nine Inch Nails and
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson and some more rock stuff like Smashing Pumpkins and Bush and things like that. But I was really intrigued by like Trent Reznor and Nine Inch Nails and like just different music, like more underground music. And then would hear like this trance, dance, techno music coming from my sister's room, and then I eventually got curious and wanted to find out more about it, and found the records at the local record store. And Long Island, I used to go to Caffeine Records when they were there in Massapequa Park.
Caffeine. The last time I asked you Caffeine Records, I said, is that the same thing that made the Caffeine like jeans clothing company? And you said yes, and
they were all the same company. It
never clicked to me.
Yep. The Caffeine Records, Caffeine jeans, Caffeine huge parachute pants.
Yeah, we rollerbladed in those.
Yep.
Aggressive inline.
I can't believe the style, that was popular and in them, but that's what it was. Jenko jeans, Caffeine, it was cool. They promoted raves. They were, a fashion, statement, company. They were, a record shop. They had DJs that, they threw raves themselves. They were, original club Caffeine in Long Island, I think in Deer Park. I think it was right before my time, but they were still going strong when I started getting involved in the late 90s and early 2000s. And yeah.
Did you know who owned Caffeine? Did you ever meet the owner of it?
There was a couple of people involved, so I don't want to mention names because I don't know,
Gotcha.
exactly who was like the head honcho or the original. I don't want to offend anybody. Or I know there was people that were involved with the record side, which was Micro and Extreme. I used to go in there, and they would help me out with records that I was looking for. And then I remember Alex involved with the fashion side, and yeah, it was a long time ago. It was it was a lot of fun. That's where I got my start.
You mentioned a handful of different venues.
Mm-hmm.
That's obviously a part of the history of the scene itself.
Yeah.
What are some of the crazy venues of those? What are the most memorable venues?
I mean,
well, what was your favorite one, really?
I mean, back then it was just so interesting. Now 2021, and it seems like bars are very popular, very trendy locations, and then you have your bottle clubs in Manhattan, and you have it's more of like an upscale, like money scene. Back then it was all about like the underground and like grunge and like a different like vibe. It was so different back then, and even all these clubs, they had such intricacies. Like Tunnel had like a club room in the bathroom. I remember I spun in one time, but it was like a big room that held 500 people on its own.
In a bathroom?
Like you would go into so there was a huge main tunnel room which held thousands of people. Then there was like the loft room that you would go up into, and then in the back of the back room there was the entrance to the bathroom, and in the bathroom there was an entrance to another club room that was like, I don't even know what you would call it, the bathroom room, like and it literally held, maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe it seemed bigger back when I was younger, but I mean at least you could have held a couple of hundred people in that room.
Where was this?
It was in Club Tunnel. Club Tunnel had it probably.
No, where's Club Tunnel?
Oh, it's in Manhattan on the west side. Forget what street it was on, but
it's got to be a gigantic building.
It was huge. Yeah, the tunnel was big. And then I mean, obviously my favorite building was Limelight, which I held close to me. That was where I have my original memories of spinning, and incredible memories there. Spinning in the main room, in the chapel room, in the Giga room.
And you were how old spinning in these venues?
16, 17 maybe. Maybe 17.
So crazy.
I always say that they ruined me because that was like the
pinnacle of
that was
the scene.
That was the thing that caused me to chase that high the rest of my life. The energy that you got in those underground clubs back in the day at old school raves, there was just nothing like it. And I remember that feeling that I got when I spun there. and how awesome it felt, and then, wanting to replicate that time and time again, throughout the rest of my life, and why I'm here now, even producing music and still pursuing the dream and producing music and
I'm amazed
and
because
loving DJing still.
What you said was a whole question itself. I said the realization this was the direction to get inspired and enthusiastic about. And that seems like it. Those moments of awe where you're in the venue wondering, is this real? You could do this?
Well, I think
this is a real thing you could do?
I actually, because, a lot of times people go to, clubs and raves first, and then they get inspired by the music and want to be that guy. But I actually it was the music that I heard that I originally inspired me. The music my sister would be playing back in the day in her room before I even had been to a club or a rave or anything like that. It was the music itself, and I started DJing. I bought like 2 old record players, a mixer, and this is before I'd ever stepped foot at a rave. And I remember I went to my first rave at the old legendary Roseland Ballroom in Manhattan, which held like 5,000 people. And I
love that place.
Remember my jaw dropping when I saw the DJ up there, and he's spinning in front of 5,000 people, and that was the moment that I really wanted to to pursue DJing, but following that up, what had me chasing that the rest of my life was when I finally started getting the gigs in Manhattan at these different venues. Once I started really getting my feet wet in the scene was what inspired me to continue throughout my whole life DJing, and now, wanting to create that sound that I once spun at the clubs through the music that I produce.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
The same feeling. It's
my whole life. I knew I always wanted to produce my whole life. It's just the capabilities, and with technology today, it's a lot easier to replicate. Like, I can't even imagine how production was back in the day for the old school Tiesto and stuff, and using analog equipment and connecting
patch cables everywhere.
And connecting the sound, the time clock, and the like everything.
MIDI clock.
Yeah,
right?
What is it? Is it MIDI clock? I don't even think about it because it's not something that's relevant to production on computers these days.
Yeah, if we had
having to sync all this, imagine having to sync your beat machine with your synthesizers, with all the.
No, I can't. I was barely able to comprehend trying to sync up a guitar delay pedal to the tempo I was playing at.
Yeah.
And then realizing, the next track that we're going to play, the next song has a different tempo, and I would have to change it again. So you have to make like markers on the pedal of where the defaults are for the track. Yeah. That's like the only way, just hope it's by the millisecond, hope it's right.
It is
a lot of hands-on and a lot of ears on.
Yeah.
It's almost as if we had to use our ears.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah, so.
And now we got visual analyzers for everything.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. But like really coming back to I think original question,
the enthusiasm with the thing that you knew that this was it.
Yeah, and that's what drove me to want to produce. And then now, with the technology and, with having the experience with all the music for years, bring that to the table when it comes to the production.
That's sick. Let me whip through, because you might have covered a few things here.
Okay.
So we got, you know what? You mentioned earlier about production lessons from someone else, but how about the person you learned the most from about DJing both as an art and a business? Is there one person that you learned both from, as opposed to just the art of DJing from one and the art of the business of DJing from another? Is there one person you went, this person does both, and I think they're doing it well, and I would like to replicate how they're making this work?
Just there's so many layers to that. Because the original DJs that inspired me throughout the years, that produced and DJ'd house music, to guys who spin in the club, to guys who produced the music, to throughout the years, to guys who DJ for private events, mobile events, there's a different art to every kind of DJing and production. So I can't even pinpoint one specific person that taught me everything. I feel like I've taken a little bit from every single person I've come across in my life, and I'd say hundreds of DJs, from every
that makes sense.
Facet of life, from every style of music.
How they did lighting, how they put their speakers, how they wired their gear, what gear they used.
But not even that, just like how their style of DJing, or DJs that spin hip hop and DJs who spin for private events, and the song selections and the transitions, and just everything comes a little bit from everybody. And also with the times, things have changed,
Yeah, the gears changed, the venues have changed.
Well, also when it comes to like DJing specifically and the music, spinning music, like house music back in the day, the songs used to be way longer, and that used to be okay. Yeah, back in the day, the songs used to be way longer, and that used to be okay. And the attention span of the listener was a lot longer. Like, it was okay to have a 7-minute long song. Where today people are way more, I would say, like ADD, because there's so much information today.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when it comes to music. So they're expecting you to transition to another sound or another song, as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Even with I spin some electro sometimes, like, people spin hip hop where they just give you a hook or a quick snippet of a song and keep it moving. It just depends, really. The type of music you're spinning in the crowd, and
so there's a lot of versatility going because you have different crowds. You've been to a lot of crowds. You're not a one-trick pony.
Yeah, I've done it all. I love, my main shtick is house music and progressive house, electro house, future house, and now I'm loving deep house and even tech house. But I've spun hip hop for years. I've spun private event music, and when I say that, anything from 60s, 70s, disco, 80s, 90s, and just pop music in general.
I love disco. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, disco music inspires me for sure.
Is awesome.
Yeah.
Disco. I mean, I'm always a fan of the history of how disco gets shit on. And I don't know why. I mean, I guess it's kind of silly. If it sounds silly, but it really isn't. It's really the origins of 4 to the Floor. It was originally called disco house music. Disco house. It was house music at the discotheque, right? And before that, you had funk, which was on the 1. Boot, boom. And all disco did was put funk 4 to the floor.
Yeah.
That's all it did. I mean, if there's any other way to transition it, there's not many other transitions. It was, what was it? Blues, funk, disco. And then electrified disco became electronic music, which was really just replicating disco. Maybe without all the horns and brass and maybe some type of big band stuff. But for the most part, it's really house music and tech came from disco.
Yeah.
Flat out.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't understand why people shit on discos. Like, disco's really good.
Well, I feel like it's the same kind of thing as today. It's like musicians versus DJs, similar to how like with disco and rock and roll back in the day. People,
and blues, blues and funk.
Blues and funk, but like mainly like the rock crowd would be like, oh, disco is not real music and it's it's stupid. And then you'd have your club goers and party goers who just like the groove and
it's like the thrust.
Yeah,
just hump on the dance floor.
And it's very similar to disco to house music today.
It makes sense because you got rock and roll was about the head banging, which was the upper body banging and thrusting, and then house and disco was like all lower body movement. So it was very fascinating to watch the differences, really looking back on it. And it's still the same thing today. Yeah. Rock and roll music and heavy metal are all really about the head banging. Yeah. And you know, which carries over in dances of all other genres. Yeah. The head banging thing was adopted because it was an interesting way to move your body to music. And then you have like dance hall music, right? They do like the head swinging in dance hall. And you would never expect that to be adopted in such a cross-platform of sound and rhythm. But dancehall can be intense, and I guess rock and roll and metal gets intense, so it actually worked perfect.
Yeah.
Which is unexpected, I think, for the people who created the dance or the circular headbanging. You know, if they get mad, good. If they got mad, it's what took their dance move.
Oh my God.
I hope they get mad. Yes, I have a handful of things, but we really did cover a lot of them, which is pretty astonishing.
What else you got?
Let's see. Now, for me, with different genres of music, I get inspired in different environments specifically. And specific genres, certain things come to me first. So I get a lot of ideas in the shower, and it's very annoying because I'm not near equipment.
Yeah.
So I have to start playing the rhythm in my head or the bass line in my head. When I make reggae music, it's almost always the bass line is in my head. And I have to immediately get to a guitar or a bass or the computer, MIDI note it as fast as possible. So it's out of my head and it's digitized as I wrote it down essentially. It's like writing down an idea for a book right? And then I build everything around that. When you're getting inspiration for some genres, where is that strange spot for you that no one would ever know?
As far as the sound goes, as far as producing?
Or even like a melody in your head or like some type of thing. Like where would you be usually?
Oh, the location.
Yeah, what would you be doing? Like it just hits you. It's kind of annoying because you're not ready to write it down.
Getting a melody in my head would be, I would say anywhere. Driving, it could be anywhere, like you said, in the shower, just at home, For me, though, it would be more so, when I experiment and produce music that I would really come up with the melodies. But here and there have been some melodies, and then once I get something in my head, it'll play over and over. And
then it's a nightmare until you write it down.
Sometimes I found myself opening up a voice memo on my phone and just mouthing the melody so that way I wouldn't forget it.
That's a good idea. That's still a good idea today.
Just so like it just brings the memory back real fast. Like I said, if there's any like specific location, a car, a long drive where it's silent or something, or
What's interesting is that technique, if you're saying use like a voice memo, is the same technique people used in the 90s. They would call their home phone and leave the message of the melody on a tape for their answering machine.
Yeah.
I think
another way you could record it, right?
I think the last time I heard something like that, it was like Nick Hexum from 311 used to do that. I think he still does it in the memos.
That's cool.
But that's what they used to do. They would go back and just sing it to their own home answering machine on tape.
Yep.
And I mean, it's pretty amazing that technique still works today because it is immediate. That was probably the most immediate way to record back then. Otherwise, you have to know how to write the music.
Yeah.
You have to physically write the music down on some type of staff paper.
I couldn't do that because
no, I can't either.
I'm not, musically trained like that.
But if we didn't have the MIDI stuff, we probably would be doing that. If we learned the music notation instead of MIDI notation, we would be doing that. Yeah. We'd have the melody down and go, oh, okay, that's...
Yeah, if I knew exactly what it was, then I'd be able to do that, but...
Find the closest piano, even if you got to go like a library or something.
Not musically trained and just kind of doodle as I go along.
Yeah.
And create it.
Be like, driving to a piano store, I got to play this real quick. Got it. Okay, write it down. Kicks you out.
Even then, it's tough not being like completely musically trained. Sometimes even when I do know a melody, I'll be searching for it for a few minutes, especially if it's chord based.
Oh, chord based is brutal.
Yeah,
even that still is rough for me.
Yeah,
I've mostly learned by ear. Especially I was a watch and learn player on drums, so that kind of set the stage of using ears, matching up. What are you doing? Oh, that does this. Okay. And when it came to piano, it still doesn't add up to me.
It's kind of embarrassing to say it, but there's some of my songs that I probably would have to search for the chords.
Oh, me too.
I mean, most of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not musically trained. I don't know where to start. It's in the moment, you know, I play it, and once I get it recorded, it's down, and that's it. And then it goes to all my production skills at that point, and all the, you know, little nuances when it comes to that. This is more of producing versus being like a full-on, you know, composer, musician. I mean, you're definitely more of a musician. You play a lot of musical instruments, but yeah, this is more of a producer.
Well, the interesting thing is, you know, it becomes a competition as a producer. When it's starting off, it's a lot of looking for something interesting. That's what it seems like. Right? We're just seeking. We're just looking for something. I'm in the mood to do something interesting. That's really what it feels like starting a track from scratch. Yeah. If you're looking for sounds to make melodies. Yeah. And then it turns into a composition, which is interesting because we're still composing.
Still composing, you're right.
We don't hear it in our head. Mm-hmm. We're looking for a sound that... It's kind of like trying to explain what an idea is, right? What is an idea? Like, if we try to explain what an idea is, I still can't really figure it out, right? Because we have our brain patterns going, right? We're all firing off these neurons. Yeah. And then for some reason, we just scoop an idea out of the universe. And then we have to figure out how to make that idea into something. Yeah. Which is bizarre because how do you explain it? Like, no, I don't know where that thing came from. Yeah. Like if you have an invention idea, an innovation idea, even a melody. Doesn't matter if the melody isn't new. It's the fact that you may have never heard that melody in your life consciously. And you're thinking...
That's why it's like when I produce, searching, you know, playing around with the notes, playing around with chords, playing around with different, you know, synthesizer patches and sounds.
That experimenting fact. It's like digging in a mine. That's what the software reminds me of sometimes.
I love it.
All the software tools we have is like going to this gigantic sandbox and we're just digging around and we find something. Ooh, that's shiny. This shiny thing.
Thing is, what sometimes can I do with that thing? Try not to get carried away with too many sounds, and like once you find something that you really feel passionate about, move forward with it.
Yes, and from the musician standpoint, I found it easier to be satisfied easier. Yeah. That's the easy way to say it. I said easy 4 times now. So with a guitar, what we would do is we would just pick it up and whatever we got, whatever signal path, right? These 6 strings, these 2 knobs, volume, tone, cable, amp, basic EQ, low, mid, high, if it has that. Otherwise, it's like a contour knob, which is like a tone knob. Mm-hmm. Volume, gain, which is mostly distortion, and maybe a button that goes from clean to distortion. That's essentially all the options we would have in the basics of guitar playing in the early stage of electric guitar. So that restriction built a discipline of these are the boundaries I have to work with, and when I likes how something sounds, you roll with it. You just roll with it. That's what you got. So taking that same skill to the production world, I think, is essential. When you're seeking that sound, when you get that sound, roll with it. Yep. And just as if that's the only guitar you're gonna have to play with, and then you work on the band around it. Yeah. And I find that to be the easiest way to get the most ideas out without just being annoyed.
Yeah, find something you like and then roll with it for sure.
Yeah. So with all the production you've done, what would you say to someone who's just starting out as a DJ? Let's say they were a DJ and they want to become a producer. Because you did that transition. Mm-hmm. I didn't do that transition, so I would have no idea what to say. I didn't live that. So how would they more effectively transition from DJ to producer who DJs their own productions? What would be an efficient way to do that first?
I mean, down to specifics, like picking which DAWs you find to be most comfortable with, And when it comes to production itself, the motto of less is more. Don't get lost in the sauce. Keep it simple. Because, during the beginning, I definitely, you could definitely get lost in it. You could definitely over layer things, and and like I said, obviously the first and foremost, you pick your DAWs, you stick with something. I know that I went back and forth with Logic and Ableton in the start, and then finally I kind of just fell into Logic. But first you figure out what you like, what works for you, and then when it comes to the productions, to keep it simple, make sure you educate yourself, watch a lot of videos. Also make sure you're watching good content. There's a lot of people a lot of idiots out there that are, not that anything's really wrong, but there are, some people out there acting as professionals when they're not, and you should get the right training sooner than later so that you really know what you're doing.
Okay, so we're dealing with what I call them malignant marketers.
Yeah,
that's what I call them. People who have the "Hey, what's up, guys?"
Yeah, there's so many of that. And there's just so much information out there. So just to decipher what you're trying to accomplish, and just move forward with it. And the same thing when it comes to your productions is just, keep it simple. Hey. I definitely, if there's anything I did, the one big thing was just overcomplicating things, over layering things, and and get focused. Like, I know tons of producers out there that produce so much shit or have so many session files with so many melodies. Like, pick one thing, make it into a song, and finish it. Like, even myself, if I go down, the stuff I produced back in like 2012, 13, like I have so many melodies and so many different projects that I just never completed, I never finished. And
me too.
To really obviously you have to go through that process in order to figure out what you're trying to do, but
yeah,
to try to narrow down and follow through and complete a song.
And I think with that, when you go through old tracks, when I do at least, a lot of them I wonder, yeah, I guess I like that, but I don't want to fix it right now. Like,
yeah,
it's one of those things where I know probably why I liked it.
Yeah.
But now I know why I don't want to fix it or finish it. Some of them I just listen. Some of them, what it's like? It's like going through
a lot of old melodies and stuff.
It's like going through a journal.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's like an old time, an old emotion I was in at a certain point.
And you want some of them.
Do you want to bring it back? Do you want to dive back into that? Not always. You just kind of it's nice to start fresh.
It's very interesting. Yeah. So I think you're right about the idea of just getting those. They're not even bad ideas. They're just ideas that didn't pull you enough to finish them.
Yeah.
They just weren't compelling enough to think this needs to be out there. This needs to be stamped and moved on. This needs to be published. That happens a lot. I think it's a good thing. You know what it reminds me of? When you just, let's say you're just on a guitar riffing. You're just riffing. You could come up with 6 good ideas in an hour. But you don't record any of them. And they're gone forever.
Yeah.
But they were fun to play. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
And no one will know about them.
Yeah.
Just like the files, no one's going to know about them unless you show them. And it's a nice little reminder of...
It sounds like a good idea for, a fun video one day. Go through your old files and just listen. Listen to different melodies and things that you produced. I actually have a ton of stuff that I bounced to little clips of different things and old songs I never released and stuff.
That's a good idea.
Some fun stuff.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that video on that.
Yeah.
I'll bring if I remember the password, an old laptop.
Yeah.
Oh man, that sucks having an old laptop and probably forgetting the password on it.
Oh yeah,
that awful. Sucks.
Yeah.
That's such a jackass move to do.
Definitely.
My goodness, it was an old Dell, and
that's why I was super anal about streamlining everything that I did when it came to software and Dropbox and having even all my old fucking projects still able to be assessed and opened.
Yeah. All right, let me whip up. Let's see. Might not be many other questions here. We covered quite a bit and then some. Ooh, let's say this is more of like a warning to the same people who want to go from DJ to producer, or even just become a DJ. Simple as that. The idea would be understanding things that go wrong in a live set. What are some of the things to keep in mind to take a double check of that could go wrong for like a DJ rig? Because I know there's always the, okay, let's make sure that's plugged in.
Well, yeah.
What are some of the things?
Once you get beyond that, it's just to make sure you organize for your sets, depending on what it is that you're playing for.
Okay, so set organization is massive.
There's a lot of behind the scenes work to make sure that you're organized into good sets that you could find the music that you need and execute the show that you're performing for.
Now, would you do? Well, I guess there's a few ways you can do this. Would you do like a practice run with that folder of tracks, or would you just know this folder of tracks? I could just improvise it live.
It's funny you say that because first and foremost, it depends on the set that you're spinning, and then secondly, it's like producing music. Sometimes I'll start with percussion, sometimes it'll be with a bass line, sometimes it'll be with a chord progression or a melody, which it usually is. But so for most of the time, it's just freestyling. I find new tracks, throw them into playlist, just work them into my sets. But depending, like the festival I spun recently, I planned out most of that set. There's certain times you want to plan sets, but for the most part, it's usually on the fly. I notice also like a lot of melodic sets are tougher to execute and sound good, so those could be pre-planned, or when it comes to like mixed in key and stuff like that, like mixing the tracks in key because you want them to work. Depending on the genre, there's certain genres you could really freestyle, and certain genres that need a little bit of preparation.
Okay.
Or at least key signatures and stuff like that, so you could.
Yeah, that's big. That was one of the biggest saviors when I was learning the whole.
Yeah, it does help. But I never spun that way, but now that I do, it's pretty incredible to see how things come together, especially the slower, like deep house stuff. Like if you don't use the key signatures, things just don't work.
No, the clashing.
When they work so well when you do it in key.
Yeah, the melody mixing or the harmonic mixing. That's the phrase.
Harmonic mixing. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, if you're doing like tech house, it's just you don't have to worry about it as much. But when you're doing stuff that doesn't really have a flat lined introduction, when it's like starts out with the melody, it's really hard to mix the songs together and have them sound good if you're not in harmony.
Okay. Now, I really don't have many other questions, so let's go with
Final thoughts.
We could do that soon. How about, of all the venues, the venue types? Mm-hmm. Now, what I mean by type, let's say you have warehouse, like the reconfigured church. What was that place called?
Limelight.
Limelight, yeah. Just touch on Limelight real quick, because when we talked about it once, I was just so astonished. I had no idea that was a church.
Yeah, Limelight's a church in Manhattan, and they converted it into a club. So when they spun there, you were spinning in like a chapel room or something. And you were up by like where the organ you're
is.
Up you're
where the chapel organ is.
You're a story high and looking down the crowd, and it's just an incredible experience. It was a lot of fun back then.
This gigantic wooden structure.
Yeah. Warehouses and Limelight and those kind of venues were a lot of fun back in the day. Those rave venues were the best. So for today, let's say as you are now. So you like to snowboard, you like to go to the beach, you live near the beach. Mm-hmm.
Of the venue types, so you have warehouse, a chapel, or a rooftop in Manhattan, or a beachfront type of venue, whether it's some let's say a beachfront whatever the venue, either on the beach or on the boardwalk type area. What type of, or a festival, right? Or the festival. Not everybody likes festivals to play at. Some people like them.
I
What would be?
I love festivals. You know?
So what would be one of the best stages where you visually look out and it's the most free, creative,
definitely,
feeling?
A festival or, a beach party or something.
So like a wide open place.
But I mean, you really couldn't pinpoint anything like that, because I'd love a beach party, just like the seasons,
Yeah.
Just like the seasons. I love an awesome beach party. I love a festival, and I would love a warehouse. So some insane warehouse parties.
Yeah.
And you can do different kind of light, presentations depending on the kind of venue you have. Sometimes you could do really cool stuff on the inside, if you're in a big warehouse style venue.
Okay. So with that, I guess I'll refine this question now. What is your favorite genre to environment match of spinning or performing? So like it is like tech house, always preferred to be on a beach. Deep house, always preferred to be in type of a warehouse. Electro house, X venue. Like what would be like your best genre to venue match?
I'd say hard electro, progressive, future, bass house, and at a festival.
At a festival, so the heavy metal of the electronic music at a festival.
Some people, some of my older friends, feel like the electro and the future house is a little bit more immature, but I still love it.
Some high energy stuff.
I still have a lot of fun with it and bounce around and dance, while I'm spinning.
Yeah, I mean, you're laid back now, but you got a lot of energy. So it's not. This is the time and place, obviously.
Time and place always.
But obviously you still snowboard at the age you're at. Yeah. You still do that fairly often. You're an active person. You're actually one of the most active people I know, for sure. Actually, almost every time I'm talking, you're like working out. So I don't know where you get all the energy from.
During these times, it's been tough to stay consistent, but yeah.
Yeah, so let's wrap up. Let's go with. Let's talk about the future. Mm-hmm. What are the big plans? What are with music and non-music, just big stuff?
Especially when it comes to music, plans are to continue to produce awesome music, release music. I have music video plans coming up if this current pandemic pans out the right way. And that's really it. Just staying with it and executing the plan. Mix show, going to be continuing that. Just a lot of creativity. I have so many different styles of tracks I want to release. So and they're just stockpiled. So it's just about execution now.
All right, we're in the DAW now. We're in Logic. Walk us through one of your published tracks.
So this is Logic. This is the newest version of Logic. I always keep it up to date. I am behind on one operating system because when you do updates and stuff, usually your software does not sync up and something will be incompatible. So this is my track Crazy. I have a great music video that I produced with it if you want to check it out. This is the layout of the song. This is the whole song here. So if you could see, I always put my kicks at the top. This track is maybe not organized as well as some others. I don't even know where default setting came from. that this track really should just be called Percussion. So yeah, there you go. Right here is the effects bus. These are all the effects in the track. Here's all the little vocal snippets and samples. And
Fuck that. some of your favorite stuff in this track? What the drums? Show us the drums. I'm all about the drums.
You're the drum man. Drums for me on this one was very simple. You know, I like to use loops. Loops, you know, make the production process move fast. So I've got a couple of generic loops here. We got shaker.
Yeah, I'm all about the shakers.
We got cool loop here.
There are drugs that cause
Sounds like it's got a little like, cowbell in it. It's like it's like all in one there.
That's cowbell.
Nice groove there. It's got some toms in it. I mean, that one encompasses everything that gives the whole track groove. Really, when I found that groove, that was really what, you know, moved the track forward. I just started copying and pasting and getting creative.
I like that kick.
Yeah, it's a nice solid kick, and then add a clap here. Nice smacky clap, however you want to say it, more thumpy.
Now, were those MIDI and then you turned it into audio?
This is all audio.
Or you just imported?
This is just straight up. I used Splice, and I pulled everything right in from Splice.
Yeah, they sound good.
I brought loops in. I brought everything pretty much in. Where, you know, did a lot of training and stuff, and you know, one of the biggest things was just to pull in new, high quality audio files. You know, when you deal with old shit, you know, you can't really polish a shit sometimes, so to speak.
You keep selling me on Splice, and I'm pretty much sold it.
Yeah,
I probably should get it.
This is not. I'm not getting any credit for this. It's just easy. You know what it is? It's like I have. What happened was I just had so many, and that's very common with a lot of people that start producing. You get like sample happy, I feel like, and you download all these packs, and it's just so hard to find something good. You find yourself going through so much garbage.
Gigabytes.
Yeah, of garbage. And then the cool thing about Splice is that you go to the site, you find exactly the sound you need, you download it, and you have a very small amount of space, and you have all the best crispy files, all new current stuff that comes out. And yeah, that's which moved this track along. A lot of my older tracks, you know, it was just like, you know, Vengeance packs and stuff like that I would use samples and loops from. But
classic.
Yeah, the classic.
I still like that pack. I still love the stuff in it.
So as you said before, you said some of the funner things in here. I mean, I love all the vocal little snippets and samples. It just keeps things moving forward. This, I don't know why I found it and threw it into the track. Just
it says hallucinations. He talks about hallucinations. I'm all about the psychedelics, dude.
Yeah. It's something about that line intrigued me. It was just like, it's just a fun track. It's a cool intro. This right here was my little reminder of the effect that bingo players do, using a like vocal sound to kind of uplift like a dance track. Where is it here?
Was that little whoop?
Oh, here it is. Here it is. It's not even that. That was another sound that also did it.
Oh, the talking of
this right here.
What was that? You hear my voice? Sorry. Is that on the snare?
This is what I like. It's on the up. It's like the hi-hat or something.
Oh, it kicks with the snare. Yeah, sounds good.
Is it with the snare?
Yeah. Yeah.
It just gives it more head bump. It's fun, and it reminds me of some things that I heard in other songs. It just kind of inspired me. It gives it more groove. Definitely keeps it moving.
I like it. Sounds like the crowd is singing
That
along.
was one of those little details that you were asking before. You said, like, was there anything special in the track that you like? It's those little nuances that I don't even think somebody would pick up. That's there lifting the track up. But
the producers are the only ones that really dissect stuff like wackos.
They'll be able to pick it apart and actually hear it.
Yeah, we're the ones that are out of our minds thinking, how many things are in this track?
The whoop that you keep talking about,
whoop,
that's like a classic sound, I feel like, from Witch Doctor. Armin van Helden used back in 94, 5, 6, whenever that was produced.
It's effective.
And it's used in every dance song.
Crazy.
And I have never used it in a dance song, and I'm not one to like really want to copy other people with the style, but this song specifically was just fun for me. I actually produced it one night when I was drinking with my friend. I went back to his house. I had my laptop with me, and I'm like, this is and I'd done this before where I just get cocky. I'm like, this is how you make a song, and you start slapping at the keyboard, you know, like, and just play the most primitive, dumb kind of riff or melody as possible. That's, you know, and that's catchy, you know, and just like most big songs that you hear, you could just kind of hum it with your mouth, like dun 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 dun. You know, it's like the same thing as like Stevie Aoki, Boneless, like dun 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 dun.
Oh
dun,
yeah,
dun.
that was
you know
him.
What I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
just
yeah.
like something
That was
that's
him.
really simple and
Forgot.
silly. You know, and I was just trying to have fun with it. I'm not trying to make a Picasso, make some beautiful music. This is just to be fun dance song, and yeah.
It's a catchy track.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot more things going on than I thought.
Yes, it's not a.
Because I haven't seen Inside This Doll yet, and if I have,
it's not Mozart.
I never got to really see.
So yeah, I mean, this is by far the simplest track that I've ever produced in my entire life.
Because I've seen you produce a lot more complex stuff.
Yeah, this is by far the simplest, one of the fastest and simplest tracks I ever produced. I mean,
It looks fun.
the brunt of the track is.
That, yeah.
I mean, you
yeah.
have
What
three
is-
synths at the most.
Show us the sense in the instruments.
I mean,
No, pull up what I don't know
once
what.
again,
what's the instrument?
everybody's gonna judge, but I just keep it real simple, and I just brought up fucking 3 instances of Nexus.
Crazy.
I don't even have Nexus.
Very simple. So
Is this a VST or does this come with Logic?
No, this is a separate VST Nexus. And Nexus is they referred to as a Rompler synth.
I like how
which is
I'm gonna look like
pretty
such a
much
noob.
playing samples. It's not even a synthesis, but
Oh, okay. So
It
that would be
is
like
effective.
in Reason that would be like the NNXT.
Yeah,
It's like a sampler device, which I didn't. I mean, I'm gonna look like a noob not knowing what Nexus is. I don't use it.
yeah, I mean,
I have Massive,
it is
Silent,
effective.
and Serum. I think those are the only real 3s, big VSTs I use. Oh,
Yeah.
and the Nicky Romero kick, which is amazing.
Yeah,
I
guess that's a
love
synth
that
too,
thing,
right?
dude. And the kickstart where it's a side chain effect. I gotta say, I love that
Yeah, I
thing.
use kick a lot, and then sometimes it would get a little wonky on me, so then I went back to just using samples. Sometimes I use it, and still to this day, I'll throw it in some tracks sometimes. Sometimes you get a really nice fat kick from that, and you could make it sound more layered.
I'm pretty sure you showed me the Nicky kick.
But yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I was using it for a while.
It was amazing.
But this specifically, I mean, Nexus just for me when I like I want to have fun making music. Well, not that I never not have fun, but when I want to make it move along fast and I want to find something specific really fast, it's very easy to find like that sound. You know what I mean? And sometimes it might sound like other things, but when you're trying to find that sound specifically and something, for example, a fun song like this, it's just you get open Nexus, and it's right there.
I'm all about.
Sometimes Silent, like the sounds are wonk. Sometimes the Serum, the sounds are wonky, you know, and it's too much fiddling. Like I just want to play something fast. You know, sometimes when I want some crazy sound design stuff, you know, with crazy synthesis, I'll go into those synthesizers and mess around, or I'll go into Alchemy, or I'll go into, you know, Logic synthesizers. But when I want a straightforward sound,
Nexus. And all 3 of those are Nexus. That bass.
all 3 are Nexus. We have an arpeggiator, we have a lead, and we have that bass sound.
That's sick. Show us the bass. Because obviously, presets exist for a reason. Right? It's as simple as that. Presets, when someone makes a preset, it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
The company makes it because they know it's a good preset.
Yeah.
Or at least usable.
So that's that. I mean, and it's not all
Crazy.
cheating, you know. Not that it's a cheat anyways to begin with. It's there for a reason, like you said.
Well, the whole composition
But
is.
we have, you know, some EQing going on. I fattened it with
You-
sausage fattener. I get yelled at by my engineers for using this shit. But sometimes when you want a specific sound, it does what you want. And that's why it sounds so fat and wide, because of the color and stuff in the sausage fattener.
I think it sounds good.
Then we have reverb. I cut out all the lows in the reverb on the bass. It's just the highs kind of shining through, the mids and the highs shining through.
That is
I mean, without it.
Is that come with Logic?
This is Logic's reverb, and I
Yep.
think it's mint.
That thing looks sick. I could just stare
You
at
see
that.
without? Gives it so much more air, so
Yeah.
much more energy.
Especially since you scoop the lows out, it's just nice
I mean,
fluffy top.
It gets cookie at the bottoms.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I
know
scoop
that.
almost all the lows out on the reverbs.
And then here, let's see. I'm going through all these guys to see what they were for.
Actually, you know what? Go back to that
This
reverb.
is the
Go
side.
back. I
This is
apologize.
the side chain. I'll go back to reverb.
Let's go back to the reverb. I want to talk about that for a minute. All right, let's get a pause. Now, simply because I want to touch on this. How this EQ is laid out, if this is new to you, the reason that the lows are scooped out is because it's putting the reverb IR, the impulse response, on the whole input signal, which means even if that signal is only above 1K hertz, it's applying under 1K hertz of reverb noise. So if the instrument doesn't create that noise, that reverb is going to give it to it. So you're going to be adding all types of frequencies that the instrument doesn't even exist having.
Yeah.
So scooping out and equalizing your reverb is one of the essential things to cleaning up a reverb sound and making that thing fit directly into the mix where it was supposed to be,
Well,
as opposed to adding the reverb and adding all the frequencies. But if you want to add all that mush to it, and it could sound sick,
Yeah,
because you could always sidechain it as well.
Yeah. Well, it's just about sculpting the sound. That's why I like the way they have the chroma verb set up, because you could just sculpt exactly. And I just wanted to have a little shine in the highs.
It sounds
and that's
good.
exactly what I put into the track.
Yeah, it sounds great.
You know, sometimes you could really be creative with it and just have a very small portion of the frequency spectrums using the reverb, to having the reverb shine through it in a certain area of the frequency.
I like touching on that because I made a lesson specifically on that, because it is that important in sound design.
And what else?
That is a good habit to learn immediately for sound design when it comes to reverb.
So then I have another EQ, cleaning it up just a little bit more. I think I put a little bit in the highs just to make it pop out a little bit more.
Go back to that. I apologize because
No problem.
you're going quick, but you do a lot of interesting things that get overlooked. So scroll to the left, the 300 and the 150-ish.
Little scoops.
This is what's called subtractive equalizing, and it gets rid of
some goofy
frequencies
areas.
that for some reason either get mushy or they have this pingy harmonic.
Pinging, for sure, or maybe because that's in the basses, there was just something that was like,
Yeah.
it's more of like a round sound. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I couldn't like put my tongue on it, but exactly. That's
I call it the woo
exactly
sound.
what we were getting down in these areas.
But
And then
subtractive EQ
usually
is
I
good.
don't ever do this ever. Like this is not a thing. But like I think for this, with the considering the reverb, and there was just artifacts in an area, it just sounded fuller, fatter, and more in your face with just a little boost there. And I did it, and I think it
No, that works. That's
Worked
look. If
well.
you look at the decibel level you boosted, you only boost like three and a
only
half.
two- but you got to be careful what you're boosting, because 2
2 decibels. That's not bad. 2 decibels is not bad.
Sometimes
That's not bad.
just a little touch.
Yeah.
And
That gives you some
then
fluff.
after that, I brought in my filter for opening it up and closing and bringing out the sound and making it lower at different times. I'm actually not even sure if I ended up using it. Let me see the automation. Yeah, filters here. Yeah. Actually, no, I use it creatively to like scoop out the sound at the end of the measure, so that way it's suctioned out. Actually, versus bringing it in and out. I didn't even use it for in and out.
Zoom in on that and just show a little bit of that little sound you got.
Because I always do that on every track I have. You hear how I just whipped kind of?
Yeah. You cleaned it up a little bit too. It didn't pop.
I always do that. That's why.
Oh yeah, it's
I
a
always
nice.
take
It's clean.
It's pulling the bass out, so it like pulls the bass out to kind of give that release before it goes into the next
That's interesting.
loop or whatever you want to call it.
That seems like a technique you learned
this was
DJing. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, and this is even before the drop right here.
Yeah, that's a DJ technique. So
Yeah, I guess so.
you applied.
I do it on like every song.
Yeah, but
Every
you applied
song.
that
it
skill.
gives it that feel. Yes, it really is the DJ thing because I always would scoop, I would filter things out before the drop comes in.
Yeah,
and I do it on every fucking frame of the song.
That thing you do there is what you've been doing for decades, and you applied that technique that you would do performing into a.
And it's just natural, like not that it's natural. It's just like it's a go-to. It's like a feeling thing. I just do it.
Yeah, you clearly like it.
Yeah. I mean,
and it works.
Keeps things, exactly. It's about what works, what doesn't. Usually, I always sidechain my effects, but this time around, this is the first song I I literally like I said, lazy track. This was the laziest track. I literally just laid these things in here and had them repeat. So just kept the same exact feel throughout the whole track, which actually I discovered in this track, repeating effects over and over kind of just makes it, like, plays a trick on the head where it just gives that same feeling the whole way through, if it makes any sense. Because other tracks, I have so many different sounds and sound effects building up and down, but this is a very commercial, generic sound, and it really just keeps that feel the whole way through.
Well, I mean,
start to finish.
I'll make an analogy. The analogy I can make is I absolutely love making reggae music. And you want to talk about things where when you hear people who don't listen to reggae music, they think it just sounds the same throughout the whole song. It's like, I mean, it's a chord progression, it's a bass line. A lot of people don't understand the drums sound repetitive. The drums can sound repetitive easily in reggae music, especially with just the upbeat the whole time. So that thing that's going to sound similar throughout the song is what makes the genre. That's what I think. So it's not even a trick. It's more like that is the genre.
Yeah, because this is not like an intricate trance or progressive house song. This is just like
this
fun
genre.
poppy house track that's what it is.
It's a party track.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you want that like consistent flow, just like the percussion kind of rides the whole track.
Example would be this. So when you say progressive house, it's different when you talk about metal and rock. When you say progressive rock or progressive metal, there are time signature changes.
Yeah.
And that would be very confusing if it's a party song that someone wants to tap along to.
Yeah.
If it's going 4-4-6-8 7-8 4-4-7-8, not a very tap-alongable type of tempo.
Yeah.
So in this is a party track. It's a 4 to the floor banger.
Yeah.
Banger. I apologize for that.
Anything else about the track you want to go through?
Let's go with. So let's get another automation. Let's see what's going on.
I mean, for tracks with automation, this is definitely
crazy.
Let's go one more automation, then we'll call it for the dog.
I guess
the sidechain. You were talking about the sidechain. I interrupted you.
Yeah, this one is a regular sidechain. I did not use a Nicky Romero or I use multiband sidechain compressor.
Is that Logic?
No, that's actually Vengeance plugins.
Vengeance has plugins?
Yeah, very nice plugins. Yeah. But Nicky Romero is not nearly as in depth as the multiband sidechain compressor.
So the Vengeance pack was first, and then they made VSTs.
I'm not, to be honest.
I'm
not the one to start telling you the history.
That's crazy. I had no idea. I want to know that now.
So yeah, this is the automation for this track. Some filters, more reverb. All right, so
yeah, let's go to that spot right there.
Right here, we got the reverb going a little bit higher. We have more wet echo here, just because it's the beginning intro, and I'm obviously not playing the rhythm yet. And then I take out the echo completely when we go into the track. I'm right at the end, kind of just wrap it up.
That's a nice little spot right there.
Yeah, that little last one, I pull out the reverb, so it's just kind of by itself, just to give a little extra effect. You gotta always just add a little nuances.
All right, I'd like to make an observation based on just this spot alone. Besides the fact that I've already pointed out a few different intricacies that could easily be overlooked for someone that's been producing for 10 plus years. The intricacies you did on the reverb is a well above average sound design knowledge. What was the second one? The subtractive equalizing. Important sound design. And that section of automation right there is not basic. This is not beginner level stuff. This is the stuff where you become way more familiar with the tools you have, and you know what the tools are doing because you hear something in your head and you know what tool to use. So I'm thinking, if you want to cut a coping, a piece of metal, you're going to use a coping saw. You're not going to use a wood saw. Right? Those things make a big difference. And you're going to just destroy the coping and it's going to be all jagged. So if you were to be using, let's say, a tape echo, it wouldn't sound the same as just a basic echo.
No.
Right? Because it would modulate out of control.
Yeah.
So just knowing those little differences with these automations.
Basic, simple echo.
Right.
And then just did a little reverb effect here.
Yeah, these little...
And then this whole little dip here is just me cutting everything out. You know, when I do the fill, if you hear...
You're making room for the fill.
This kind of pauses, everything cuts out, and then the
Correct.
comes back in.
Now, all of that was making... That's using automations for sound design for another instrument to make noise. The same way scooping out the lows and the reverb is to cut out all the mush of the low. Doing all that automation cuts out the sound to allow the drums to do the fill for the one. So I want to point out I know it may seem like it's a very simple track, but really when you look at it at a detail, that's why I want to ask you these questions, because I know there's more things going on. It seems simple.
Well,
it really isn't that simple.
The big thing, and I'll give credit to Kova for really pushing this on me, DJ Kova. You know, it was the importance of all the little cuts in the songs. The cuts are so important. The cuts of the percussion, the fills that you drop in, like what is this here? We have where you drop out the kick before the breakdown comes in, the percussion cutting here, the way the fill would drop in with nothing there. I cut everything out in the song. Even like the little subtleties of the uplifter, the riser right here, cuts right before the fill. So it like suctions up, and then the only thing that shines there is that fill. Even these two little stabs right here, just real quick. Out. Ooh. And then that just ends
That is... I like that.
Yeah, I mean, when I grab these samples, I was just like, everybody else throws vocal samples into their tracks and it sounds so cool. I just went and grabbed a bunch of samples, and the real epiphany of this track was like, when you put your mind to something, how you can create really awesome stuff. Because all I was doing was just having fun.
Well, the key, you were having fun with tools that you didn't have to think about.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have to think about the tools, it freed up the freedom, which is a ridiculous statement, freed up the freedom. It freed up the ability and time to do other things with your skills. The same thing when you're using it.
Very true, especially like a lot of the little tricks I do here. I was able to be more effective with the tricks because I wasn't worried so much about, like, for example, there's a lot of cuts and a lot of vocal samples that carry the song. It's less melodic. It's less about the melody. It's just a simple...
It's about the rhythm.
Yeah.
There's a rhythm track.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a groove track,
100%. Yeah, it's a groove track.
And it reminds me of when you're using the Serato controller, you make cue points the same way to free up time to be creative.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just like if you would use AutoSync or something, even though I don't do that, but I think for hearing purposes, I might start using it a little bit more often because
I love
the amount of years I've been doing that. So
I love the
sync. See more cuts here, like even this sample here, everything's cut out. The whole song's cut. It's just
okay.
It's so important to cut.
I think that's good. I think we can cut it there. That's good. That was awesome. That we learned a lot.
That's crazy.
There's a lot of stuff there, dude.
You can make a really cool track with very subtle details, with not a lot of composition. I mean, it doesn't have to be super full. You don't have to have 100 tracks to have a good song. Here we are. We have 30 tracks. with minimal actual melodic instruments.
It's a lot of rhythm-based music.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. I'm all about the rhythm-based. I was literally just telling you about reggae music. Reggae music,
Yep.
all rhythm.
All rhythm.
So it's nice to just groove a track.
Yeah, which is not typical for me because I'm always like stabbing away with chords and stuff.
Oh, well, that's a good thing. I told you I started off playing heavy metal, hardcore, punk
Yeah.
music, and then I just fell in love with bass and bass music.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
you've freaking done everything.
I drum and bass.
Dance,
I'll
drum
make some
and
more
bass,
drum and bass at
reggae.
some point. I'll make some more drum and bass at that point. I'm
Yes,
obsessed
that's
with
this
drums.
track.
Yeah,
Crazy.
we'll make a drum and bass track together. Turning up. That was a fun time. We'll do it again. DJELLO.com. Check it out. What's going on with this universe right now? I think we are in an interesting time. Well, I think we're always in an interesting time. It's always interesting somewhere in the universe, someplace on the planet. We have Elon Musk, who wants to go to Mars, spending billions of dollars. He calls it investing. It looks like he's just building fireworks. Imagine we took all that and put it into building cities in the ocean or exploring the oceans of this planet. We'd probably do a lot more for the progress of the planet. How did I get into this topic? It's fresh in my mind. But as far as DJ ELLO goes, when he's in town, check him out. Otherwise, if you are a producer of music, then get in the studio. Keep creating something.
There are no limits to comedy.